Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
So let's do prayers, pranam prayers.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Tamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudhiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana
Shalakaya
Shalakaya
Chakshurunmilitanina Tasmai Shri Gurave
I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada. We'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 3rd chapter, verse 21 and 22. Would you like to share some context?
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I would like to go ahead with the context happening for previous verses going on. So these are the words spoken by Shaunaka Muni to Suta Goswami while he was inquiring about more descriptions about what is discussed between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. So the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Muni, they were very eager to hear pastimes of Krishna and especially descriptions given by Sukadev Goswami for more and more questions which were asked by Parikshit Maharaj. So while inquiring like this, Shaunaka Muni was explaining about importance of human life. How human life every day, in fact, like every moment, is taken away with the rising of sun and setting of sun. So sun is decreasing the duration of our lives, like in every moment. Shaunaka Muni is saying one who is utilizing his time by Uttama Shloka on the topics of Krishna, one's time is not taken away or wasted. Very beautiful. So human society is very proud of so many comforts created around us. Like we have plants, food to eat, which were given from plants, and we have very luxurious and comfortable life. But seeing around us, there are many aspects, many living beings without hard work and without any endeavor, they are leading happy and comfortable life as well. Like animals around us, they're just like eating, meeting everything, just like us. But Bhagavatam is telling human and animal life in one sense they have no difference with activities which we perform. So Saunaka Muni mentions that human life is meant for devotion. If we do not utilize for devotion, then we are wasting our time. One who is not able to listen or hear the powerful messages given by Krishna, his ears are compared to the ears of snake. Snake who doesn't have ears, like they can't hear anything. Even though if we have ears and not using them for hearing Krishna Katha, then what is the purpose? It's useless. Similarly, tongue is meant for to glorify Krishna and chant Hare Krishna. When they are not used for that, then it is compared to frog's tongue. Like example, frog croaks. If frog croaks in an open field, what happens? Then it is welcoming snakes. So they come and eat them. Similarly, if we are not using our tongue for not glorifying Krishna or chant holy name, then we are soon welcoming or inviting death as well. I mean, eventually that happens. So like,
This is that verse, right?
yeah, yes.
Do you want to read the verse?
20th verse.
This is 20th verse.
Yeah, these are all the verses happened before. Yes. So this way Saunaka Muni was explaining in our previous verses. So in today's verse, Prabhu would go for the first.
Yeah. Usually, Srimad Bhagavatam is a conversation between a lot of great devotees. For example, Sukadeva Goswami is talking about the questions that are asked by Parishit Maharaj, and in the assembly of the conversations, Sutta Goswami was present, and Saunakadi Rishis assembled in Naimisharanya were asking questions. But interestingly, in these verses, as Bhargavi was mentioning, Saunaka Muni is very eager to learn more from Sutta Goswami, and in that way, he is explaining each and every part of the body, how it is used in the service of the Lord. So let's dive into verse 21. Bhara param api uttamangam namen mukundam Savo karo no kurute saparyam Hare lasat kanchana kankanauva Bhara param patta kirita justam Api uttamangam nanamen mukundam Savo karo na kurute saparyam Hare lasat kanchana kankanauva Audience.
Bharha param patakirita justam
Bhara param patta kirita justam
Abhyuttamananda name mukundam
api uttamangam nanamena mukundam
Savaukarau kurute saparyam
savaukarau na kurute saparyam
Hare lasat kankana kankana
hare lasat kancana kankanauva bhara param patta kirita justam api uttamangam naname mukundam savaukarau na kurute saparyam hare lasat kancana kankanauva bhara,
Bhara,
a great burden,
a great burden.
param,
Param,
heavy,
heavy.
patta,
Patta,
silk,
silk.
kirita,
Kirita,
turban,
turban.
justum,
Jushtam,
dressed with,
dressed with.
api,
Api,
even,
even.
uttama,
Uttama,
upper,
upper.
angam,
Angam,
parts of the body,
parts of the body.
na,
Na,
never,
never.
namet,
Namet,
bow down,
go down.
mukundam,
Mukundam,
Lord Krishna, the deliverer,
Lord Krishna, the deliverer.
savo,
Savo,
dead bodies,
dead bodies.
karau,
Karau,
hands,
hands.
no,
No,
do not,
do not.
kurute,
Kurute,
do,
do.
saparyam,
Saparyam,
worshipping,
worshipping.
hare,
Hare,
of the personality of Godhead,
of the personality of Godhead.
lasat,
Lasat,
glittering,
glittering.
kanchana,
Kanchana,
made of gold,
made of gold.
kankanau,
Kankanau,
bangles,
bangles.
va,
Va,
even though.
even though.
Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: the upper portion of the body, though crowned with silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of dead man if not engaged in the service of the Personality of Godhead, Hari. So as I mentioned earlier, like Sutta Goswami, Saunaka Muni is asking the questions, and he's explaining which part of body is used in the service of the Lord. And in this verse, Saunaka Muni is talking about the importance of head and the hands, how it can be used in the service of the Lord. So from the translation, we can see that if one who doesn't bow down in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can liberate us, Mukti, Mukunda, his other name of Krishna is Mukunda, which means he can liberate one from this material science. So if one doesn't bow down, even though if he is a king or a wealthy man, his turban that is decorated with pearls and jewels will become a heavy burden and pull them down more into the material ocean. Similarly, the hands that are decorated with bangles, like most of the women wear bangles, beautiful bangles, but if those hands are not used in the service of the Lord, they are like the hands of a dead man, which is of no use. So let's dive into purport. Let's see what Prabhupada says. As stated herein before, there are three kinds of devotees of the Lord. The first class devotee does not at all see anyone who is not in the service of the Lord, but the second class devotee makes distinctions between devotees and non-devotees. The second class devotees are therefore meant for preaching work, and as referred to in the above verse, they must loudly preach the glories of the Lord. So the first class and second class devotees that Prabhupada is mentioning are pure devotees, and mostly the second class devotees are the one who does most of the preaching work, travel around the world, like a lot of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. The second class devotees also accepts disciples from the section of third class devotees or non-devotees. Sometimes the first class devotees are also comes down to this category of second class devotee for preaching work. But a common man who is expected to become at least a third class devotee is advised herein to visit the temple of the Lord and bow down before the deity, even though he may not be a very rich, even though he may be a very rich man or even a king with a silk turban or a crown. Uh, from this, Prabhupada is insisting that the third class men who are most of the Kali Yuga people, it is mentioned that most of the Kali Yugas are all in the Shudra class, and which are all the third class men, and it is our duty to bow down before the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he's a king. If we go further down, Prabhupada says that he is the Lord of all the Lords. Let's see. The Lord is the Lord of everyone, including the great kings and emperors. The men who are rich in the estimation of the mundane people must therefore make it a point to visit the temple of Lord Sri Krishna and regularly bow down before the deity. So this is clearly saying that Saunika Muni is clearly saying that the responsibility of a head, of even though he belongs to a higher class or even though he is a rich man or a king, we used to have kings back then, but nowadays we don't have any kings who wear crowns. But there are kings who wear suits, and they have they don't wear crowns, but they wear titles on their head, but which we can see, whose responsibility is to go down and perform devotional service. Where from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse where Krishna says, whatever the king or the highest person do, the most popular person do, this, their followers will follow it. So from this verse, this is emphasizing that who does that service, who does bow down in front of the deity, will be liberated from this material world. But who does not will be pulled down into material existence even more. Let's read what Prabhupada says. The Lord is the Lord of everyone, including the great kings and emperors, and men who are rich in the estimation of mundane people. Oh, I already read this, sorry. The Lord of the temple in the worshipable form is never to be considered to be made of stone or wood, for the Lord is in his Archa incarnation as the deity in the temple shows immense favor to the fallen souls by his auspicious presence. So, I mean, nowadays we hear that a lot of people say that we are worshipping the stone, or Jagannath is made of wood. So we are worshipping stone. There is no form of the God or something like that. Prabhupada here condemns the impersonalist who says there is no personality or personal form of the Lord. In this verse, it clearly says that Lord mercifully bestows his appearance in the form of Archa. I mean, if he appear in his original form, like universal form, it is very difficult for us to perceive the Lord with millions of eyes, millions of ears and tongue, millions of arms. But he is very mercifully come down in Archa form, where we can see the beautiful form of the Radha Natabar and bow down before him, pay obeisances, and serve him. This is his mercy that he is giving us in his form of Archa Vigraha. Let's read further. By the hearing process, As mentioned here, this realization of presence of the Lord in the temple is made possible. As such, the first process in the routine work of devotional service, hearing, is the essential point. Hearing by all classes of devotee from the authentic sources like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is essential. The common man who is puffed up with his material position and does not bow down before the deity of the Lord in the temple, or who defies temple worship without any knowledge of the science, must know that his so-called turban or crown will only succeed in further drowning him in the water of ocean of material existence. What a great point. A drowning man with a heavy weight on his head is sure to go down more swiftly than those who have no heavy weight. Is it easy or hard to pull down who has a pull up who doesn't have a weight?
It's easy.
So yeah, exactly right. So that is exactly what Prabhupada is mentioning. So the first point, the essential point is hearing, where Prahlad Maharaj also mentions Shravanam Kirtanam. Shravanam is the first thing, hearing. So hearing from authentic sources. From whom? Authentic sources. From Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, through the disciplic succession. So hearing helps a lot to come into the platform where they know who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what are his form and qualities, and from this verse we can see what are our duties and what each and every part of the body we can do with what we can do. Earlier verses we saw that tongue and ears are used, how those are used. In this verse, we can see how head and furthermore, Prabhupada explains how hands are used. Let's see. A foolish, puffed up man defines the science of God and says that God has no meaning for him, but when he is in the grip of God's law and is caught by some disease like cerebral thrombosis, that godless man sinks into the ocean of nescience by the weight of his material acquisitions. Advancement of material science without God consciousness is a heavy load on the head of human society, and so one must take heed of this great warning. I mean, I don't know much about cerebral thrombosis, but we recently, a couple of years back, we faced a pandemic where we had to self-distance ourselves, like 6 feet, self-quarantine to survive, to live in this world. And lot of the devotees, lot of people lost their loved ones to this pandemic because of the what this verse is talking about. We have a lot of material advancement, but where is it leading to? There is no medicine for any of these diseases, which if we go down, we couldn't find the medicine for a lot of diseases that showed up long back. But earlier times, when devotees used to rule the world, like Ambarish Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, no one had any of these issues, or no one had any of these problems, because their whole base is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They know what is important and how they can perform their duties. And Prabhupada also gives an example here of Maharaj Pratap Rudra. Hare Krishna. The common man, if he has no time to worship the Lord, may at least engage his hands for few seconds in washing or sweeping the Lord's temple. Maharaj Pratabruddha, the great powerful king of Orissa, who always very busy with heavy state responsibilities, yet he made it a point to sweep the temple of Lord Jagannath at Puri once a year during the festival of the Lord. The idea is that however important a man one may be, he must accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. This God consciousness will help a man even in his material propensities. So, material prosperities. Thank you. Prabhupada is clearly explaining with an example because it is for me it is very hard to understand it without examples. So Prabhupada is giving an example of King Prataprudra. When there was an invasion, like in 1500 something like that, when Pathans, Mohammedans attacked India and tried to conquer it, they were able to succeed most of the part, but they would not able to touch any of the Orissa because it was under the leadership of Maharaj Prataprudra, who even though he is very heavily involved in his responsibilities of taking care of his people, but he made a point to worship Lord Jagannath every year, and his surrender to Lord Jagannath made him, even though he is powerful, even though he is intelligent, made him base so strong that he could not be conquerable. Prabhupada goes on explaining Maharaj Pratapudra's subordination. Maharaj Pratapudra, subordinate before Lord Jagannath, made him a powerful king, so much so that even the great Pathan in his time could not enter Orissa on the account of powerful Maharaj Pratapudra. And at last, Maharaj Pratapudra was graced by Lord Sri Chaitanya on the very grounds of his acceptance of supreme subordination to the Lord of the universe. So even though a rich man's wife has glittering bangles made of gold on her hands, she must engage herself in rendering the service of the Lord. So this is how the hands needs to be used in service of the Lord. So I mean, from the verse we can see that if we don't use it, use the hands, which we can decorate it with bangles, and even the men nowadays wear bracelets and stuff. So with smartwatch, yes, smartwatch pro. Yes, if we don't use it, it's like hands of a dead man which is of no use. So in this verse, Sonaka Muni is emphasizing the importance of head and the hand. In further verse, he also emphasizes on eyes and legs.
Hare Krishna. So I would like to do the next verse. 2.3.22. Barhaite nayane naranam lingani vishno na nirikshato ye padav nirnautau druma janma bhajau kshetrani nanuvrajato hareryau. Would you like to do audio? You can go translation. Synonyms: Barhaite, like plumes of a peacock. Te, those. Nayane, eyes. Naranam, of men. Lingani, forms. Vishnu, of the personality of Godhead. Na, doesn't. Nirikshata, look upon. Ye, all such. Padav, legs. Nrinam of men, Tau, those, Druma Janma, being born of the tree, Bhajav, like that, Kshetrani, holy places, Na, never, Anuvrajata, goes after, Hare, of the Lord, Yav, which, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock. And the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. So let's go with the purport. Especially for the household devotees, the path of deity worship is strongly recommended. As far as possible, every householder, by the direction of the spiritual master, must install the deity of Vishnu. Forms like Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, or Sita Ram, especially, or any other form of the Lord, like Nrsimha, Varaha, Gauranitai, Matsya, Kurma, Saligramashila, and many other forms of Vishnu, like Trivikrama, Keshava, Achyuta, Vasudeva, Narayana, and Damodara, as recommended in the Vaishnava Tantras or Puranas. And one's family should worship strictly following the directions and regulations of Archana Vidhi. Any member of the family who is above 12 years of age should be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, and all the members of the household should be engaged in the daily service of the Lord, beginning from morning 4 a.m. till night 10 p.m. by performing Mangalarti, Niranjana, Archana, Puja, Kirtana, Shringara, Bhoga Vaikali, Sandhyartika, Patha, Bhoga at night, Shayanartika, etc. Engagement in such worship of the deity under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master will greatly help the householders to purify their very existence and make rapid progress in spiritual knowledge. Simple theoretical book knowledge is not sufficient for a neophyte devotee. Book knowledge is a theoretical, whereas the Archana process is practical. Spiritual knowledge must be developed by a combination of theoretical and practical knowledge, and that is guaranteed way for attainment of spiritual perfection. The training of devotional service for a neophyte devotee completely depends on the expert spiritual master who knows how to lead his disciple to make gradual progress towards the path back home, back to Godhead. One should not become a pseudo-spiritual master as a matter of business to meet one's family expenditures. One must be an expert spiritual master to deliver the disciple from the clutches of impending death. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has defined the bona fide qualities of a spiritual master, and one of the verses in that description reads, Shri Vigrahara Dhananityanana Shringaratan Mandiramanjanado Yuktascha Bhaktam Sanyachandrato Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda. Shri Vigraha is the Archa or suitable worshipable form of the Lord, and the disciple should be engaged in worshipping the deity regularly by Shringara, by proper decoration and dressing, as also by Mandira Marjana, the matter of cleansing the temple. The spiritual master teaches the neophyte devotee all these kindly and personally to help him gradually in the realization of these kind of the transcendental name, quality, form, etc. of the Lord. Only attention engaged in the service of the Lord, especially in dressing and decorating the temple, and accompanied by musical kirtan and spiritual instructions from scriptures, can save the common man from the hellish cinema attractions, and rubbish sex songs broadcast everywhere by radios. If one is unable to maintain a temple at home, he should go to another temple where all the above performances are regularly executed. Visiting the temple of a devotee and looking at the profusely decorated forms of the Lord, well dressed in a well decorated, sanctified temple, naturally infuse the mundane mind with spiritual inspiration. People should visit holy places like Vrindavan, where such temples and worship of the deity are specifically maintained. Formerly, all rich men, like kings and rich merchants, constructed such temples under the direction of expert devotees of the Lord, like the six Goswamis, and it is the duty of the common man to take advantage of these temples and festivals observed in the holy places of pilgrimage by following in the footsteps of great devotees. Anuvraja. One should not visit all these sanctified pilgrimage places and temples with sightseeing in mind, but one must go to such temples and sanctified places immortalized by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord and be guided by proper men who know the signs. This is called Anuvraja. Anu means to follow. It is there best to follow the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master, even in visiting temples and the holy places of pilgrimage. One who doesn't move in that way is as good as a standing tree condemned by the Lord not to move. The moving tendency of the human being is misused by visiting places for sightseeing. The best purpose of such traveling tendencies could be fulfilled by visiting the holy places established by great acharyas and thereby not being misled by the atheistic propaganda of money making men who have no knowledge of spiritual matters. Hare Krishna. So let's discuss on these points given by Srila Prabhupada. So the first line we see Nayane Naranam. So we have these eyes. So these eyes are supposed to see or look up the forms of the Lord in the temple, which is Lingane Vishnu. See the forms of the Lord. So eyes which are not interested to see the Lord in the temple, then they are like painted eyes on the plumes of a peacock. Anytime, like these eyes are also given by Krishna. So when we are not making use of it, we might lose the power of seeing. So Nirikshato, Srila Prabhupada is very strongly pointing that if we are misusing our senses, it is clearly mentioning that it can be a serious action. So we have got this human body, so we need to conduct in a specific manner where we have to contemplate that our body has so many senses, we need to make use of it. In few senses, Saunaka Muni is trying to explain that the utility of these senses, how we are doing, like in the previous verses, all the body parts and the senses, how we are utilizing, what is the purpose of them. And best person we need to say is Ambarish Maharaj, who is the best one who makes use of all his senses in the service of the Lord. So we might need to try to be like that. So why do we think we have these senses for in this body? Any answer? Why?
Enjoy.
To enjoy. How about you?
To serve sense.
So just they are, we are just using it. That's what you are. But what we need to think about it, when we need to understand why we have got this, what is the purpose of them. These questions we need to know, and Srila Prabhupada speaks about these, the purpose of the human life. What is the purpose? So what is the use is like, it is to the main purpose of the human life is to self-realization. So self-realization is who you are, and what is the purpose of you, and what are you, this body or something else? You will know this by this. So why we have come here, everything we might know from there. This is called a self-realization again. So the purpose of the eyes is to look at the forms of Vishnu, which are the original forms, like Prabhupada was mentioning Trivikrama, Achyuta, Keshava, Madhava, Narayana, like so many. And Krishna's form is explained in Brahma Samhita like Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Nava Yavanam Cha. So here like we have our like Krishna has unlimited forms, right? So what is the change between our form and his form? Like our form is like it changes every day since our birth to now. So Krishna's form is like eternal. He is like, he doesn't get old like us. Nava Yavanam Cha. So like in that Brahma says that this form is Nava Yavanam Cha. So this means we understood that what is the direction and indication to see, and what is the purpose of the eyes. And the householders especially are need to absorb are absorbed in many activities. For them, the deity worship is strongly recommended by Prabhupada. So because they have many things to do, they need to engage themselves in their time and energy in service of the Lord by having deities at the home and worshipping them. And Prabhupada mentions also that from morning 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. need to perform all the various activities for the deities. Like deities are basically Archa Vigraha, the form of Krishna himself. So Prabhu was also mentioning, if Krishna has descended in his universal form, we cannot handle him, or we cannot do any kind of service. So if like we might need thousands of meters of cloth to dress him, so that is not possible. So that's why he has descended like in a we have a Archa Vigraha, which we can do the very mercifully. He's available as a Sri Vigraha. And Prabhupada says, by the instruction of spiritual master only, we need to install the deities. And with his directions and regulation of Archana Vidhi, the deity worship needs to be done. And this is very important in this present state, because constantly when we see the deities, we will develop the Archana Siddhi, and you will go back home, back to Godhead. That is also mentioned here in the purport. And the purport also says that simple theoretical book knowledge is not sufficient for a neophyte devotee. So spiritual knowledge must be developed by combination of both theoretical and practical knowledge. So that is the way, guaranteed way of attaining spiritual perfection. So practical knowledge here is again deity worship. As well, the training of devotional service needs to be given by the spiritual master. Everything, like how to decorate the Krishna, how to do the Archana, Puja, everything is again instructed by the spiritual master only. So we have, like we do every day in Mangalarti song, we sing that Shri Vigraharadhara. In that also clearly mentioning in Gurvashtaka that which is nothing but one who is one to teach us the deity worship and Shringara, to decorate the form of the Lord. That is mentioned also. And Prabhupada mentions that our mind is filled or completely absorbed in hellish cinema attractions. In olden days, it was radios. In Prabhupada days, nowadays we have many sources like TV, internet, media, everywhere. We are bombarding with these things. So to avoid, or rather to overcome this influence, we again need to do the deity worship, where if we engage in that, we might get some kind of distraction from this. So again and again, you make feel that like once we get into any kind of this influence, you think that again we are not this, like we are this body, we need to have a sense gratification. And then it is going to distract you from the spiritual practices. So whereas deity worship will infuse the mundane mind with spiritual inspiration. Right now, our mundane mind is infused with material inspiration of sense gratification, like we can enjoy like this and like that, which can be overcome there. So whereas you see Prabhupada says, look at the profusely decorated form of the Lord, well dressed or well decorated, sanctified temple, that will infuse spiritual inspiration, because mind is constantly materialistically thinking and feeling things about Lord. So this is very essential to see the forms of the Lord, and also you have to see the kirtan and participate in kirtan, and the spiritual instruction as well given by the spiritual master. So these are the three things which we need to keep in mind, which will help us to save from the human being from degradation. So again, there is other point like visiting the holy places like Vrindavan, Mayapur, where such temples and worship of the deity are specially maintained. So one should not have the mood of sightseeing, and one must go with mood of knowing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So again, while going to these places, we should be guided by right person who knows the real science and pastimes behind that place, which is called Anuvraja. Anu means follow. So it is therefore the best to follow the instructions of the spiritual master, even in visiting temples and holy places of pilgrimage. So we have many yatras going on, led by several senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So we can take advantage of that and learn from from them all about the Sthala Purana, everything. So recently I was hearing from Radhanath, Mataji, about when they had a yatra with Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So she shared a small story behind the place where they have seen, where Maharaj was explaining about Krishna sowing pearls in the land, like to grow more pearls. So that was very sweet, and how she was relishing like that, like just now Krishna sowed them, and she was feeling that. So that essence is only told by the right person, not with everybody. So we have many big travel agencies and everything. They don't have any spiritual knowledge, and there's no point of getting tours from them. So we need to have properly guided by a right person. We should not go with a mind of sightseeing, which is not good. And similarly, if people who doesn't visit holy places are called as tree trunks, standing trees. So in one point, Prabhupada mentioned, generally trees are very lusty in previous lives, that they are punished to not move and stand, suffer for thousands of years. So they don't move. That's what Prabhupada mentioned in the purport also. The legs are needs to use to go to holy places. When the legs are not used for that, then they are just like trees. So
I've heard that they said that those who like to live naked, they don't want to wear any clothes. Even they get opportunity to very rich. There is no clothes. You just live naked.
I mean, even in our pastimes of Lord also, like the trees behind the Krishna's home, the Manigrivans, they were also punished and standing for thousands of years. They were just observing, but they got very good opportunity to see the pastimes of the Lord very closely. So yeah, so I can take pause here. I can conclude this.
participate in the pack.
Yeah.
So I can add one thing. So,
Any comments or corrections, Prabhu?
So this is there is a Kannada like a Madhva. So there is a Madhva saint. He is in the lineage of Madhvacharya. His name is known as Sripad Rajuru. So in one of the songs he has written, Kangal Yatako Kaveri Rangana Nodada. So he made it so clear. He said, these eyes are absolutely useless. There is no point of these eyes if they are not looking at the deities. So he has gone to that, and then he talks about the same thing, the eyes and the same this thing, but he has gone to that extreme, like to make it very clear that the whole purpose of these eyes, the whole purpose of these legs, of these hands are only to do sadhana and to look at the deities. And that is one thing, and as you were clearly mentioning, I want to reinforce that point. The Lord, he is limitless. Like, as we know, like he is everywhere, limitless and this. But see his mercy. That in that small deity, he is present. He is there. It's not like a symbol or something like that. It's not. He is truly present there. So that's why this line we see, beyond that is the transcendental world. So when we see that, so that we have to be very clear. Like so, the deities are not representing something, or there. It's not like that. They actually, he's there. So that's where this thing, because many people think like you have the flag, right? The American flag, Indian flag, then they pay respect. But what do they think? That is just a representation of all the armed forces and everything, the people who are sacrifices. So it's a representation of that flag. But this is not like a flag. This is not representation of the transcendent. This is the actual, the Lord himself is there in the deity. So that we have to, and the more we read the Prabhupada books and all those things, we will be very clear of that. Thank you. I just wanted to add that stuff. Thank you,
You have the micro.
I can speak like this? Okay. So thank you very much for I think this is your first class, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
I couldn't even feel that it's a first class. You spoke so well. Hope you will come back more often. So this is what I understood from this verse. First, I was meditating on that. I think even from your previous verse that you were talking about deity worship, right? How King Prataparudra, he was talking about Prataparudra, right? How he was using his hands to serve the Lord. So a king, being in the position of a king, he was so humble, and he realized the importance of devotional service. And there are verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita where it talks about how he was sweeping the road before Rath Yatra, all that. And the Lord deliberately didn't show any mercy initially, but later on he becomes very favorable. Deity worship, again, from this verse, what I understood, it's part of spiritual knowledge. I was not able to connect the dots, like how you perform deity worship and then you get spiritual knowledge. But Prabhupada seems to indicate here it is part of the practical knowledge, not the theoretical knowledge. So I have to think more about that. But like Prabhu said, the Lord is very merciful. Even if you don't have deities at home, you can come to the temple. So that's why through Alankar Prabhu, we are coming to the temple on Saturday. The more we see the Lord, the more we can offer sincere prayers to the extent he reciprocates. We have seen that so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam. So one has to be sincere in even offering simple obeisances. If one can be very sincere, I think the Lord reciprocates so well. So again, without the mercy of spiritual master, nothing happens. So one has to always be showing gratitude to the spiritual master, because as we have seen in so many instances, none of us are seriously qualified to receive the holy name. The holy name, sometimes I chant so mechanically, Hare Krishna, like that, But then there are times I think about it saying, I'm like one in millions getting this opportunity to chant the holy name. And Haridas Thakur has been chanting, 3 lakh names a day. That was his taste. So how merciful we are to get the holy name through the mercy of the spiritual master. And we have to take that so seriously. So all these thoughts were going on in my mind. So again, thank you very much for inspiring those thoughts.
You have the mic in hand.
Thank you so much, Prabhu and Mataji. Yeah, really nice class. And couple of things I heard. That was the first time I heard, and I was like, "Wow, this is inspiring." But I want to go to the first verse that Karthik Prabhu was discussing, that about the heavy. First of all, I want to appreciate Prabhupada about how amazingly he has drafted that purport. Yeah, the first verse. So first he started off with 3 classes of devotees. Yeah, the verse is talking about those who are not listening. Yeah, those who have like so much of
Knowledge.
burdensome or crown, on the head, and bangles. So verse is talking about, Prabhupada starts with 3 types of devotees.
That's exactly what I also thought when I started reading that. This verse is talking about. This verse is talking about bowing down. It is talking about bowing down, or using the head, how we can use it, and the hands, how we can use it in the service of the Lord. But Prabhupada starts off with 3 classes of men. After reading a couple of sentences, I could connect the dots, saying that the lowest person are the non-devotees who does not do all this, and then he takes it from there. So
Right. So such a genius. But actually, I was thinking in a different way, that why Prabhupada is bringing that up, because for devotees also that can be an impediment, because it's not just material designations. Even in spiritual life also, people can get distracted by the designations. That I am this, I am that, I'm doing this service. I think last Sunday Sri Radha gave that class, right? Let go of pride and ego. One of the main things that comes is when we are doing services, it's very natural, right, Mataji? Very natural to come in our mind that I can do this service much better than them, or if I do it and nobody appreciates it, how come I'm not going again, right? I'm not doing. Let's see. They will come begging, please do. So that comes. It's very natural, and because of our envious nature in first place. So that's why Prabhupada is starting off with this, that okay, there are different, and there are Uttamadhikaris. They just see everybody is in this, everybody is a servant. Then there are Madhyamadhikaris. They are there to preach. So even in these 2 verses also, I was trying to connect. So there is Pancharatrika Vidhi, deity worship, how our senses can be practically engaged. But then there is Bhagavad Vidhi also, where preaching can bring the humility. Because we can have our senses controlled, but if there is no humility about no, I am the servant, I am not the master, that is, it's 50-50, right? So both Prabhupada covered both Pancharatrika Vidhi as well as Bhagavad Vidhi. So that's what I was thinking, that that heavy, the crown, and even the analogy that Prabhupada gave was such a brilliant one, that drowning man, who will drown first? With a heavy head. Those who heads are heavy. Amazing. So it's applicable to everyone, common people, devotees, pure, everybody. We should never take any designations to the head, any service, any ability, any skills. But at the same time, I have also heard the Prabhupada say we should be proud that we are servants of Krishna. We should be proud. We should not become like, I was trying to connect that with Sudama's pastime that Gauranga Darshan Prabhu shared at Urukana Prabhu's home.
that even saying that no, I'm not qualified is also pride. He's also Sudama, right? He was saying that no, I'm the most renounced. He had the little bit of pride of that, and that's why he had to suffer. So even we have to just say that, okay, how can we be engaged in the service of the Lord, instead of even saying that no, I'm not qualified to do this service, I cannot do this. No, even there is a pride. So yeah.
And I mean, to add to that, Prabhupada also gives us an example in the same purport of King Prataprudra. How he does, even though he is very busy in his activities, managing his kingdom and everything, state responsibilities, yeah. But he still was able to manage some time to go to the temple of Lord Jagannath in Puri, serve by bowing down, serving, cleaning the temples and everything.
Yeah, even the line before that also is very powerful. Yeah, the common man, if he has no time to worship the Lord, may at least engage his hands for a few seconds in washing or sweeping the Lord's temple. So, very practical. Temple is such an amazing place. It's the embassy. From here, we can take off straight back home, back to Godhead. And yeah, I also like Ram Kirtan Prabhu's point about how amazing, how merciful deities are, how merciful Krishna is that he has come in this form of the deities. And to add to that point also, that even beyond that, how merciful that deities also are there, we can relate, but still we are not able to get the taste. So then he has also come in the form of his holy name, right? So Namnam Akari Bahuda Nijas Sarva Shaktis, all the potencies, all the energies, everything is encapsulated in the holy name. Only Krishna can do that. So chanting, deity worship, preaching, all these practical applications that we can use to get closer to Krishna. So fantastic verses. Yeah, each and every verse of Bhagavatam is so nice.
Something. Actually, Narahari was playing Mridanga last Sunday. When I saw him, suddenly I remembered His Holiness Radhanath Swami gave him 3 instructions, personal instructions. Am I allowed to say that? No, I shouldn't be saying that, right? Okay. But one thing I want to say is chanting the holy name in the mood of forgiveness. That's very difficult, but I think it has serious impact when you do it that way, because when you chant the holy name as it is stated in the scriptures, it all the anarthas comes out. I think we all have our experience on that, right? Only at that time all the anarthas will come out more. So at that time you tend to think about some bad incidents, and then it has happened to me at least, and it distracts me from the chanting, and I'm thinking about that incident and how I have to get even with that person, whatever. So since it has accumulated over a period of time, as the purification happens, you see that effect. But at that time, if you can hold your mind and thoughts and simply surrender to the Lord and just say, I don't want anything to do with that person or anything, and pray for them, for their well-being, I think the impact of the holy name and the chanting seriously improves. That's what I've realized.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for the wonderful class.
Thank you, Mataji.
As Sukadevananda Prabhu said, it doesn't seems like first time. We were all shivering when we gave our first class, but you both are so brave and you are so eloquently, so eloquently spoke. Very nice. Couple of points I was thinking is, I was listening online while driving, and when Karthik Prabhu was reading the purport, that when the king's crown is made with all the jewels and it's heavy, it's like a burden when you don't offer obeisances. These days, none of us wear crowns. None of leaders wear turbans or crowns. Very few, only when they have to represent outside something, maybe they wear for some time. But I was relating that our heads are more heavy than the crowns that Prabhupada is mentioning, with our ego, with our false pride. So which doesn't allow us to offer obeisances from the heart in the mood of a servant. Not just like not like a ritual that, okay, I came to temple, I had to offer obeisances. It becomes a ritual, right? Every time you come, you offer obeisances. But when we are offering obeisances, what is my mood? My head is heavy with my ego that I am the great, like suppose if I'm coming to give a class, I'm offering obeisances, so I'm going to give a class, everybody's going to clap for me. That's my ego. So my head is already heavy. Or some other service I'm doing, I'm going to dress the deities, I will be the best dresser. My head is already heavy, heavier than the turban, heavier than the crown. So at that moment, even though I offer obeisances, I am only offering obeisances to myself, not to the Lord, because I'm so proud and He's not going to accept it. So I was thinking that as the related, that kind of ego, that kind of false pride can only be purified by chanting the holy names. So these days, that's the only way that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us, because nothing else we can do. All the deity worship, we will do it, but not as they did in Dwapar Yuga. Like to that extent, we are not able to do it in this Kali Yuga. So that is one thing we always have to work on in our lives. Is initially when Krishna is so tricky, my God. It's like when we when we come initially to Krishna consciousness, we are really humble. Like, oh, if anybody says anything, yes, Prabhu, I really want to do that service. Yes, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then we are really happy. And then at that moment, we think, oh, I want to be humble. I wanted to listen to anybody. Or they are senior devotees, or there's this or that. And then as you progress in Krishna consciousness, and we come to a stage, so at that moment, always, Maya Devi is always, she is doing her service 100%. 100% effort. So when we come to a certain stage, we start thinking, now I listen to somebody else when I came initially. Now it's my turn to tell someone else. But if we are in the mood of a servant and guiding others, then Krishna appreciates. But if we think, I got better over these years, now I'm ready to lead some other group of people under me, then it's over. Even though we do that service, Krishna will not accept the service. The Jagannath pastime that they say in Puri, when they make Chapan Bhog, 6 offerings, 6 times Chapan Bhog, 56 every time. When they take all those clay pots, because they cook that in the clay pots, when they take all those clay pots and they put in front of the altar of Jagannath, the pujari, whoever is offering, they do achman and they take water in their hands like this. And when they see this, they have to, not like putting like this, but when they see this, they have to see Lord Jagannath in the water. The reflection of Jagannath, or Jagannath himself. When he holds the water, he has to see Jagannath. If he doesn't see Jagannath, that means there is something wrong happened while cooking, either with conscious wise, or there is, some, what I would say, impurity in cooking. They will throw away all the 56 offerings. And they will tell the cooks, go back to the kitchen, again cook all the 56. They will not offer it if they don't see the reflection. So Krishna, when we offer something, when we do something, he's not accepting the thing. He doesn't need it. He's accepting our consciousness. He's accepting our bhakti. He's accepting our love. And if our head is heavy with all those things in our head, how come he's going to accept it? So we need to develop that state of consciousness where we think we are ineligible to do it, where we don't have any qualification. As Prabhupada said, some disciples asked, Prabhupada, what's her qualification to go back to Godhead? Prabhupada said, you don't have any qualification. I gave you the qualification. by giving those 16 rounds of chanting and things. So we personally do not have any qualification to do deity worship or to chant the holy names, but all the qualifications have been given by Srila Prabhupada for all of us through the parampara. So we have nothing to take pride in our lives other than, as he said, being a servant. That also we have to be careful. Oh, I am the greatest servant. Haribo. Like even this, just a span of a moment when the gopis thought, right during Rasrila, every gopi they thought Krishna is dancing with me only. Oh, because I'm. What did Krishna do? Gopi bhava. We think about gopi bhava. We talk about gopi bhava so great. Just for a speck of a moment, gopis thought, oh, Krishna is dancing with me only. At that second, Krishna is gone. Who are we? So at that moment when we think, oh, I am the greatest servant, I can make the best cake for Krishna, I can make best whatever sweet rice for Krishna, bhakti is gone out of that. Out of all the ingredients, bhakti is the main ingredient in the preparation. When we think like that, that ingredient is gone, and Krishna, even though the preparation may go on the altar, but Krishna will not accept it. So when he was reading that, I was thinking, if I can work on that one sentence, the head is heavy, bowing down, my life is successful. And then deity worship, yes, deities, bringing deities home shouldn't be a fashion. Bringing deities home shouldn't be oh, that devotee has, so I should have, this devotee has, so I should have. It's a lifetime commitment. It's a lifetime responsibility. It's like having a child. But even child, Prabhu, like you are not that much responsibility to your parents right now because you're working. They don't feed you. Come on, Alek, beta, come on, eat, chalo, paratha khao. They may give you the plate, but they'll not. But they'll not be like, okay, do you need monthly expenses, beta? No, you're come. But Krishna, he's like, I'm standing there. You didn't feed me today. You had to feed me. So it's a lifetime commitment. It's a lifetime responsibility. But that kind of consciousness will come only when we develop that personal relationship with the deities, which is very, very important. As Prabhupada explained in the purport, we have to use our eyes to decorate to take the darshan of the deities when they are decorated. But if we don't dress the deities at home and they're becoming black, then we don't dress them for months and months and months. Why we have them at home? Not like a showcase, So when we take darshan, every time we take darshan, what we are thinking at home? Am I taking care of them properly? Am I serving them properly? So that lifetime commitment, it takes a lot to be committed like that. And then it needs the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas to continue to do that service. But it really helps. That also I can say. It really helps with consciousness. It really helps to develop that personal relationship. Because as we go through in life, as we keep taking care of them nicely, as we try to serve them nicely, in life the situations comes where they will be only the shelter, no one else. And then we have to come to that stage where it's only Krishna. We say so fancy that, oh, we are Krishna consciousness. You have to design your life around Krishna. So false, Prabhu. Sorry, you're going live, but but how many of us think that, oh, today Krishna wants sweet rice, I want to make sweet rice. No, my son wants pizza, so I'm going to make pizza at home. I'm going to offer it. If I'm not cooking lunch, I just going to give some nuts to Krishna because I already cooked lunch and I have so much in the refrigerator and I don't want to cook again. So I'm going to offer some nuts to Krishna. So why? Because I really don't think that he's a person standing there hungry, right? So that's why I'm saying it's a lifetime meditation to really serve the deities like that. Before you eat, you have to think, did I feed him? Am I eating myself? So if I don't feed him, I have to feed him first because he's giving me everything. But so there are so many in little details when it comes to deity worship to go on to that level of consciousness. But as we all spoke, Prabhupada wonderfully explained everything, and it's our responsibility to put into practicality right now. So only we can do, like he was explaining, right? Pancharatrika Vidhi and Bhagavad Dharma. So the train goes on two tracks. So one track is Pancharatrika Vidhi, another track is Bhagavad Dharma. Pancharatrika Vidhi is all these rules and regulations of deity worship. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Bhagavad Dharma is chanting and reading. If any one of them doesn't go properly, train is gone. Train falls, because if you're not chanting and if you're not reading, you will not be able to deity worship properly. Because we are reading now, we are so much trying to relate to what we are doing in our lives. But if you don't read, if you don't chant, they will become a burden. Deities will become a burden in our life. Why am I doing this? What am I doing this? Why am I doing all this? No taste to worship them. No commitment to do it. No mood of servant. But at the end of it, we have to develop that mood that I am the menial servant to them, and let me do whatever I can do. But we have to try our best to improve ourselves. So thank you so much for the class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhu. We learned a lot from each and every one of you. Thank you for your realizations. We'll take a pause here.
We'll pause today's Bhagavatam reading and we'll continue. If it was fun, then please come next Saturday also. Of course, Nityam Bhagavad, it should be every day, but in group, it's always nice. Next week is the final verse of this chapter, the change of heart pure devotional service, where it's now, closing the loop. Now we have seen that, what happens to those who are not listening the pastimes of the Lord or the quality of the Lord. Then what will happen? How we can. Prabhupada gave such high standards, right? Even Mataji was saying that, okay, it's not a joke, but then it's a gradual process, right? You cannot overnight become 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. full Krishna consciousness, right? I was thinking that, even it reminded me of that bhajan from Bhaktin Thakur, Gopinath. In the third verse, it is that Gopinath kemone shodhibe more na jani bhakti karma jada mati porechi samsara gore. He's saying that how will you purify me? Acharya is saying, how will you purify me? Na jani bhakti. I don't even know how to do bhakti. Then I'm only doing all this sense gratification, engaging myself in all this karma. Karma jada mati. My mind is always absorbed in performing material activities. Porichi samsara gore. In this dark well, I have been fallen. Acharya is saying like that. So it's a gradual process. So next week, we are going to finish this third chapter with this message. So, Granth Raj Bhagavatam ki jai,
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.